Hello, I am Ilana Queiroz, a social work major, and I went to Cusco, Peru for an independent program through IVHQ. Cusco, or Cusco in Quechua, the indigenous language of the Quechua people, still spoken in Cusco by a good part of the population, has a population of approximately 435,000 people. The city is located at the Andes, and it is 3,400 meters or 11,200 feet above sea level. What makes us, people that live on sea level, take a few days to get used to the high elevation. Because of that, right out of the plane, we can find a big basket of coca leaves, which is believed to help with the high altitude experience. Cusco was the historic capital of the Inca Empire from the 13th until the 16th century. In 1983, Cusco was declared a World Heritage Site by the UNESCO. The Incas were one of the most advanced civilizations of their day. During the 20 days of my volunteering program, I had the chance to clearly observe the large amount of tourists from all over the world that visit Cusco. The city hosts nearly 2 million visitors a year, and once you are there, you can easily understand why. The ruins, the temples, the buildings are amazingly beautiful and well constructed. Cusco was planned in the shape of a puma, a sacred animal for the Incas. There are many historical sites and they are all charged at the door. Tourists make long lines to enter those places and dispute for a better view for a photo inside of the museums and churches. In 2009, Cusco made $2.47 billion from tourism. To buy $1, you need 3.16 nuevos soles, Peruvian currency. And just to give an idea, one can eat an amazing 3-course meal at a fairly touristic part of the historic center for 10 soles, meaning around $3. The entrance fees for the touristic attractions are charged equivalent to other touristic parts of the world, not Cusco's reality. For example, just the entrance for Machu Picchu is $44, and they have around 2,500 visitors a day. Questioning the locals after some days, I learned that just a little percentage of the money from Machu Picchu goes to Cusco. What makes me think of the disparities of profits distribution. This is a picture of one of the 2 families that lived in Machu Picchu area before American archaeologist Hiram Bingham claimed that he discovered on July 24, 1911, this archaeological site. Clearly, profits did not and do not go to this family. Besides tourism, Cusco has around 3,000 varieties of potato cultivated by the people and 70 different types of corn. They are very creative, making food, desserts, or drinks from their corns and potatoes. I drank a lot of chicha morada when I was there, this drink made of a purple corn. A big percentage of the Cusqueños live from their crops, and not only locals but tourists eat and drink from those crops. With all that being said, it sounds like Cusco is a very rich place, and it is, but rich of culture, natural resources, and heritage. But despite the influx of millions of tourism dollars, more than half of all residents, around 60%, live in poverty. Even worse, poverty shows no signs of diminishing. From 2004 to 2007, while the national poverty rate in Peru fell 9%, poverty in the Cusco region increased by 4%. That makes me wonder, Where does all this revenue goes to? Someone is living like a king and a queen in Cusco, but I did not see them. I went to Cusco to volunteer at Cusco Maki. Cusco Maki is an NGO owned by a French woman dedicated to getting children and teenagers off the streets by providing them with a valuable skill set like carpentry and baking skills, providing means to have an income and a living place. Cusco Maki's croissants were the best ones distributed daily all over Cusco. Cusco Maki is a shelter for the street boys younger than 18 years old. My job was to teach 2 English classes every night of the week for 3 hours. A few of the Cusco Maki kids were my students, and the others were people that would work and study during the day and still want to go every night to learn English until 9 p.m. I learned that regular English classes in Cusco are very expensive. I was amazed by their dedication to it. My class started with 3 people, and at the end we had close to 40. The youngest one had 17 years old, and the oldest student had 67. A lot of them worked in the touristic industry and said they could earn better and get more jobs speaking English. I thought I was going to just teach them English. However, my class became a mix of me learning their culture to bring matters to their context and teaching them the California way through lenses of someone that one day did not speak English like them. I thought I had an advantage because language did not represent a challenge in my travels. I speak Spanish, and because of the large amount of Brazilian tourists, sometimes I would teach them Portuguese too, always using aspects of their culture that I would learn throughout my daily culture research. So this way I could make a cross-cultural comparison between the Cusqueño, the American, and the Brazilian ways of living. They were eager to learn and very curious about new information. Different from what I see in the US, even though some of them were tired from the whole day of work and school, they were absolutely engaged in class for the whole hour and a half. And when I would ask them to perform some writing activities, they would be engaged in writing and quiet sometimes for 20 minutes. No cell phone, no complaints, no small talk. I was humbled by the amount of discipline and desire to learn. They know the value of education and they were grateful to be there. My question was, what can I help them achieve? Why am I here? How can I make a difference teaching English? Well, to inform and educate is a service to public health. Through education, we can empower people, we can give them options, opportunity, and more access to information. The illiteracy rate in Cusco in 2012 was 10.8%, what leads to less opportunity, less information, and less chances to have a steady income. It leads to a higher percentage of infectious diseases. Walking through the streets of Cusco, it's normal to see elders begging for solace, sitting under the weather on a curb, or children carrying heavy weights of goods for sale, or just asking for money with their beautiful but very dirty faces. Education promotes personal hygiene and information about how to avoid infectious disease. Some street people were clearly sick and helpless. The region lacks sufficient healthcare infrastructure, with understaffed medical clinics offering little care to those with severe health concerns. 2 million visitors have a great experience in Cusco, and they will likely give an overwhelmingly positive response. Sadly, the hundreds of thousands of Cusqueños living in poverty would have a very different story to tell. Every person has a right to have their basic needs met. Safe housing, affordable health food, clean and safe water, access to health care, and safety. In Cusco, it seems that the ones that need the most assistance are the ones that do not have means to have it. One very cold night, I saw a young man laying on the floor with no shoes, asking for money. People would pass him without even looking, and when I asked, some of my students said it was his choice to be there and there was nothing that could be done for him. Cusco does not have the amount of public health assistance that it should have, given the level of poverty and the relatively small size of the city. One coming from a city the size of San Diego We think that it would be easier to eradicate kids from the street in a place the size of Cusco, but no. It seems to me that San Diego has a more active approach to children in the streets. But in Cusco, children are just there on the floor, freezing, while flocks of people jump over them to keep going where they're supposed to go. Educating people, we can empower people to mobilize community, enforce laws, connect to care, and know their rights. It is a global health goal to provide education for at-risk groups of people and prevent the kind of scenery I have just described. The impression I was left with is that even though public assistance in the US has its limits, it's bureaucratic, and it is seen with judgment, in the United States people have more access to care. There are diverse agencies specialized in specific populations. In Peru, even though I heard in a very discreet way that domestic violence is a real and concrete problem that affects women daily in Cusco, there is no place where they could have assistance. Their laws do not protect women, what made me think about one of the achievements from the Millennium Development Goals, to promote gender equality and empower women. It still have a long way to become reality in Cusco. My conclusion was that in Cusco, those who benefit most from social health services are not the ones that need the most. And we can notice social disparities between education, income, and social status just by walking on the streets. The good news is that while I was in Cusco, I saw 3 street protests and a strike. Seems like I'm not the only one noticing that despite all the touristic and crop earnings, the majority of the population of Cusco is not the one served by the benefits of it. Many of the hotel and restaurant owners, and even the ones that collect profits from Machu Picchu, are not even from Cusco. Cusqueños know, and slowly they're taking action about it. So, how did my volunteering experience impacted on how I will approach my career in the future? I learned that every little act of love can provide a ripple effect. Every little effort matters, and sometimes we cannot even access how much it helps along the way. We just have to trust and have faith in our social actions. Teaching English, I gave them more opportunity to work and communicate with foreigners in order to have a better income and also access information and education about good and bad things that happen far from Cusco. I learned that I have to be culturally humble anywhere I arrive. I am from Brazil, South America. And even though Peru is in South America and we share many aspects in common, Cusco is a completely different place from even Lima, the capital of Peru. Not having language as an obstacle gave me opportunity to listen to people's perspective and understand them. Taking in consideration the global health lens, this is paramount to be able to assist the population. I was reminded of how wealth and income play a role shaping health around the world. I was reminded in my heart that this is not fair because we have to think equity, because everybody deserves the right to health and education. Everyone needs to meet basic needs and have basic rights. In order to act globally and make a change pursuing justice, we need to put our biases and plans away and meet the population where they are, meet their needs, listen to them because they are masters of their issues, not us. Educating is an excellent way to empower people. English is an universal language, and there is a lot of researches and information that can be obtained by knowing the language. The more educated, easier to find jobs. If a population has work, they contribute to society and they are less likely to need assistance. Education reflects also on health, and we cannot do much without health. So I will keep all this information in focus throughout my career, always focusing at population at risk. I learned that we always have to approach a population with a beginner's mind, with humbleness and genuine curiosity. And this way we will not just affect positively a population, but we will also be positively affected by them.